Hey guys, James here again, and today we're looking at something a little bit different, something unusual, something I don't often feature on the channel. No real reason for it other than it's expensive, and 9 times out of 10 it's quite difficult to get hold of. However, night vision. There's different options. You would have seen on videos previous. I tend to use an ATN X sight, just a bolt-on unit, take it off. But the problem with that is every time you go to swap it between rifles, it's going between your centerfire, your air gun, you know, your 2.2 air gun, your 2.5 air gun. You've got to re-zero and check your zero each time. It's just time consuming, it's a pain. However, this is where the Pard NV007 comes in, because it's a bolt-on add-on. It clips on to the rear of your scope. So your day scope can stay on, can stay zeroed without doing anything, but at literally 2 seconds, clip the night vision on and you're good to go. So let's move in, have a look at the specs and see exactly what this unit is all about. Okay, so for the purposes of today's testing, we are going to be showing scope footage through this Element Titan that we've currently got on test from the guys at Sportsman Gun Centre, or as a handheld module, which is the joy of a detachable unit. You can either have it on your scope to look through your scope, or if you just want to pan around and see what's in the field without pointing the barrel around, you can use it as a handheld spotter. Now it does come with this adapter. It's a 45mm adapter, so it will fit on most scopes. I've tried it on obviously the Element, I've tried it on my Hawk Sidewinder, and I've also tried it on my Vortex Diamondback and my Vortex Viper, and it fitted absolutely fine. Slide it on, 2.5mm Allen keys, tighten them up, don't over tighten them, just enough so there's no wobble, no play, and then you're literally good to go. You can use it, you've got enough eye relief that you can still use the scope with the adapter fitted, or if you think, right, it's getting a little bit dark, you can get the unit and simply, he says, clip it on. Quite surprisingly well for a camera. Once the unit's clipped on, it literally is a simple case of turning it on, looking through the rubberized ocular here into your little screen on the inside. Now this device does film and take pictures in 1080, and you can do that in both day and night mode. Now swapping between the two is super simple. The buttons on the back are really easy to work. Once you've used them a couple of times, they become very intuitive. You can go, right, that's the photo, that's the filming, oh, there's the power button, there's the laser. And again, all these things will go into a little bit more depth in a moment. But, as I say, they're really, really nicely done, laid out, slightly out as well, so they're very easy to find. If you've got gloves on as well, I will say you can still operate these. Obviously, I use MacWet gloves, so they are quite thin, they're not a big glove, but I can operate this device with gloves on without any issues. Now, one thing I will say about the screen while we're on about this kind of side of the unit is, as I say, 1080 resolution is more than enough for anything that most shooters are ever going to do. But also, when you look through, you can adjust the brightness and the exposure on the screen. Something that people that use night vision might notice before, if you're using it, say, through your right eye, you can get a black spot in the middle of your eye if you're using a device like this at night. So you can adjust that to suit your own eye. And interestingly, my ATN X sight gives me a headache. If I use it for too long, I get a headache. This one here, I've used it extensively in the time that I've had it on testing, and I'm yet to have any issues with it at all. So that's quite an interesting point, and if you do suffer with sort of migraines or headaches with other night vision units, it may be worth having a look at this, because I was pleasantly surprised. So once the unit's on, it's fitted, you're happy with its location, next thing to do is going to be to set it up to yourself. Now you can adjust the focus on here, and you can also adjust on here as well. Now this one focuses on the ret, and then this one, like with any scope, will be down to your eye to make sure the screen is perfectly aligned and in focus for your eyesight. What I will say, very, very easy to use, very simple, and it literally makes it a 10-minute job, if that. Depends on how much you want to refine it, or if you're just eager to get out and go and shoot, you know, X, Y, and Z at night and get the footage for your hunting channel. Now, battery-wise, there's different ways of doing this. Now, you can either buy a separate charger, which is something I would probably be inclined to do, get a couple extra batteries, and then have a rotation of batteries, leave one charging in the car, come back in 2 hours when this battery's gone, put your new battery in, put the old one on charge, and so on and so forth. Or you can plug it in via the USB, stick it in the side, you get a little light on the back, and then that tells you obviously while it's charging, when it's done. So the battery's housed in here, just below the IR, so it's got a built-in infrared. Now what I would say here is a little bit of discussion about what was acceptable, what wasn't, and obviously Pard disappeared off the market for a while. This is the new version. I've had it side by side with the older version, and to be completely honest, there isn't much difference. There is a little bit of a difference, but not much. But this is the new certified one that Sportsman Gun Centre are now distributing. Now, the thing with this one as well, and something I find quite kind of helpful, is you can either have it back in the housing like so, and it floods the area that you're looking with IR, or you can push it forward and then that focuses the beam down. So similar if you've been out lamping and you can focus your torch down, works exactly the same way. So if you don't want to flood an entire area, you've got your target in front of you, you just want the best quality footage, bring it out, bring the beam in. The more IRs going back and forth, the better. Obviously, the more it receives, the better clarity you're going to get. Now, what I would say with the standard IR, there's mixed reviews, obviously, for the range that you can use it at. The field that I tested at, that you would have seen a second ago with the two side-by-side comparisons, that hedge line was probably about 350, possibly 400 metres away. Decent range. Realistically, most of my nighttime shooting with an air gun, it's going to be rats, let's face it. So that's going to be within 30 yards, absolute tops. Sometimes it's down as close to 5 yards. If it's on the big gun when we've been out foxing, realistically again, I only ever go out to about 150 metres because most fields I've got, that's the biggest area I've got. And also, the closer it is, 9 times out of 10, the safer it is. I've got no interest in long range shooting. So for me, shooting at normal workable ranges, the clarity from this, more than enough. The IR illuminator, more than enough. And unlike my X-sight, I don't need to run an additional IR on the side of the scope. Now obviously if you were going to spot a little bit further, you might want to invest in an IR torch. Completely your choice. Another really cool little feature here as well is that it does have a built-in Wi-Fi, so you can link it with an iPhone or a tablet or anything like that. Say for instance you're driving around your estate, you've got a driver, and you've got your gun sticking outside the window, the driver can see exactly what you're doing, but without having to say, ooh, left a bit, right a bit, anything like that. You can kind of sink in a little bit more. It's not a feature personally I have used, I've not had the need to. However, for anybody that does want to, it's all built in the back. So, battery life. This will be very subjective. Is it a cold night? Is the battery fully charged? How old is the battery, etc.? Anything to do with batteries is always going to be quite subjective. Now, from my personal testing, I've been running this on mixed IR, because you can do IR level 1, 2 or 3. Had it on standby, had it left on, and I tend to get about an hour and a half to 2 hours, if not a little bit longer if I rely on the standby a bit more often. I'm a bit lazy, I tend to leave the unit on, but you can get about that kind of battery life out of it. As I say, that really depends on how cold it is or what level you've got the IR on, if you've left it on. But from my own testing, those are my results. As I said earlier, you can buy additional batteries, you can buy external chargers, so you can leave them plugged in, that's not a problem, and they take 2 seconds to swap over. Very easy, again you can do it in the dark without any issues, it's quite tactile, so even if you've got gloves on, you can unscrew it, nice and simple. So, quality of the footage, because let's face it, this is going to be the game-changing deal breaker for a lot of people. It's great having all these Gucci features, but if the footage ain't good, what's the point? Now, I've used this unit in a variety of different forms, different times of day, different weather conditions, and I have to say, on the whole, the footage is very good. The 1080, clear as anything, it films, records, it's visible to look through, it is very good. Now during the day you get perfect clear footage, it doesn't distort the coloration too much, which is helpful. During the evening as well, that transition, what I have noticed obviously is you're starting to lose the level of light. This clings on. Now that could be something to do with the scope bringing in all the light, but this clings on in day mode for as long as it physically can, before even I'm sat there going, actually it's a bit dark, maybe put night vision on, before having to do it. The clarity in the evening during a nice clear night is very good. One thing I would say is even in foul weather, as you'll see here, you can still get about 100 yards of kind of usable range through the optic. The weather, as you would have seen there, was not great, but those horses there were about sort of 50, 60 yards away from us, so that gives you an idea of the range that you'll get even in not amazing weather. Did make looking for the horses quite easy that night. Go out with your umbrella and your spotter, make sure they're all okay, job done. This is yours. So, the price, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, it's well known that Pard disappeared for a little while and Sportsman's Gun Centre had to fight to get it reclassified so it could come to our markets today as you see it on this rifle. And there's a reason for that. This little unit here gives you the convenience of clipping on and off, spotter, rifle scope, whatever you want to do, decent quality, decent spec, When you look at it compared to some of the other units that are available on the market for, you know, £800-900, it holds its own quite happily. But this one only retails for £433, which is just nuts. It's a lot of money, yes, but for the spec you're getting and the quality of the night vision, this could have been sold for a lot more, and I don't think people would have questioned it. So it makes it an incredibly attractive offer. £433 for a unit that'll hold its own against units that cost £800-900 and upwards. I can tell why people didn't want it in the UK. Is what it is, that's a different story. So overall, it is a really good unit. Say, you've seen the quality of the footage today, decent weather, bad weather, it just works. These are now distributed solely through Sportsman's Gun Centre, so if you live close enough, go to them. If not, anybody with an account with Sportsman's, which I imagine most RFDs will, you can just get them ordered in. Stock-wise, I've seen the warehouses, they hold a lot of stock. So you should be able to get them pretty quick. Thanks to them for obviously letting us have a look at it. I'll put links in descriptions and things, different locations where you can buy them and further information. I'll be reviewing this one very soon. This will probably be coming to your screens next. As I say, this is the Element Titan. So any questions, any comments, feel free to put them below. I understand night vision is quite an in-depth process, and there's a lot of different techie things that I could never put into a review and keep it under half an hour. So if there are any questions, any comments, anything like that, just put them below. If it's something I can get back to you with, I will. If it's not, I can direct you somewhere where they might be able to give you a better answer. If you like what you've seen and you want to see more from us, feel free to obviously like the video, it helps us out massively, and subscribe. You'll then get to see everything coming up from us in the future. So anyway, if you've made it this far, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.